Hello, everyone. So, this is going to be the first of a series of podcasts that I plan on doing about game collecting. I'm doing it in video as well as audio, depending on which one you're listening to. But being that it's a podcast, it's going to be mostly audio, and the visual will just be because I can. So, basically, what this is going to be about is game collecting, tips, tricks, what cool things you can look for, when things happen, and how you go about doing things, and just everything in general. It'll also be about what I've been doing with game collecting, and just whatever else I feel like yapping about, more or less. So I thought I'd start off basically with me, how I got started collecting. To do that, I'd have to take you back a few years. How old am I? 25. Turning 26 soon. And when I was a few years old, 3, 4, whatever it was, we had a Sega. And then a couple of years later we had an NES. And then a couple of years later we had an SNES, because, got the NES pretty late in its life cycle. And, having this and having all these great games, like we had Wonder Boy for Sega, and Shinobi, and we had Dr. Mario and all the 3 Mario Brothers for NES, and we had Mario World and NBA Jam for SNES. It's really hard not to get into the games. But then we moved on to the PS1, and for the most part, I didn't get too far into it for one reason or another. Maybe it was just because we didn't get the greatest selection of games. Maybe it was because I was just sort of doing other things at the time. I would have been 13, just starting high school when I got a PS1. So, a lot on my mind at that stage in life. So, yeah, and then, the PS2 came along, my brother got one, and I really didn't care for it too much. And then the Xbox 360 came along and the PS3. And that's when I sort of got back into gaming again. Xbox 360, my brother bought one, and he bought Gears of War, and I bought Dead Rising. And Gears of War was great because it was multiplayer. Being able to play co-op like that was fantastic. Being able to play with your brother, it's awesome. And I got Dead Rising, which was just a hilarious game where you go around running over zombies with lawnmowers and shit. It's so cool. So that kind of got me back into gaming again. And about... let me just think of the date. Or the year. 2009, I want to say. 2009, 2010, that kind of year. I got back into old games. I remembered about the NES, the SNES, the Master System, all that shit we had up in the roof. We packed it away. Thankfully, my mum and dad never threw it all out. And I got them out. I started playing Dr. Mario. And I was like, okay, I get it. I remember this. I thought to myself, no, I'm an adult now. I have a job. What games did I miss out on as a kid? I think that's how most collectors get started. It's about trying to get all the crap back from your childhood that you never got. So, the first game I bought was Castlevania 4, or Super Castlevania 4 for the SNES. Because I never got to play any of the Castlevanias. I looked it up, and I thought that was meant to be the best. Which it was. I played it for about 5 minutes, just for the record. My dog's looking at me funny. Yeah, and it sort of just went downhill from there. I can't remember what the next few games I bought were, but I ended up buying a whole bunch. And come here, come on. Sorry. There you go. I ended up buying a whole bunch, and I went nuts. In the beginning, I had about 100 games total. Sorry about the noise. The dog's standing on the controllers. Come up here. Come on. Yeah, so I had about 100 or so games in the beginning that were all stacked up poorly, and then I'm not sure how it exploded as much as it did. I remember getting to 500 pretty quickly. I had a lot of donations from my friends because they were in the same boat. They had all these game systems I never used, so they wanted to get rid of them. So I got a bunch like that, and then of course I was buying the systems I never played. I bought a GameCube and a couple of games. I bought Mega Drive and a couple of games. I bought 64 in a couple of games, and Xbox, the first Xbox, and because the games for that were cheap, and the PS2 because the games for that were cheap as well. And of course the Xbox 360, I was buying used games, because used games for current consoles, they get pretty cheap most of the time if you know where to look. And yeah, it exploded, and then I got to 1,000, and I'm like, that's cool, I should probably slow down now. Then I got to 1,500, I'm like, okay, that's cool, I should probably give it a bit of a rest. Now I'm up to 1,800 and something, nearly 1,900. I'm starting to slow down a little bit now because I've got nearly everything I want. And it's hard to go past and just buy random crap when you... For me personally, I have a house, I have a mortgage, I have a wife, I've got all that kind of responsibilities, and I hate... So I can't just waste all my money on games, sadly. But I do buy the occasional expensive thing. I buy a couple of pre-orders every now and then. A couple of new games. I pre-order new games. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm kind of tired. But yeah, like, how you get into collecting, I think, will shape the way that you collect. Me personally, it was about getting back to, and I think it is for most collectors, getting back to what I missed out as a kid. And I missed out on quite a lot, because it was just, we never had it. And once I got back into gaming, the games I had for the 360 weren't enough. When I would play the 360 games, and it'd be, cool looking graphics, cool gameplay, and it's just like, well, it's not like I remember. And so I'd play an old game, and I'd play a new game, and then I'd play 2 old games, and I'd play 3 new games, and I'd play 10 old games. So, and I got to the point where it's just like, old, new, it's a game, and they're all amazing. So now I play all games, and I don't compare graphics, I don't compare anything else but how the game feels. Which I think is what most people should do when you play. I think people unfairly compare graphics. You can have bad graphics and good graphics on an old system today, and it's got nothing to do with how many polygons. If it's 2D, it's a 3D. It's nothing to do with that. And I think that's what people forget. So that's my story. And so I thought I'd give a couple of sort of explanations on what is the best place to start. Where's the best place to go shopping for this kind of stuff? At least in my opinion. And how best to organise. Because organisation is an important thing to me. If you're watching the video, you can kind of see nearly everything's in alphabetical order, and nearly everything is organised. It's a bit hard for me because I have quite a lot in a very small room, especially with the couch and the TV and everything. Actually, you know what? That's what I'll start on. I'll start on with a TV. There's a lot of arguments among retro game collectors with CRTs versus LCDs versus LEDs, old school versus new school for gaming. I'm in the class where I used to think it doesn't really matter. And then I tried to play Mario on my LCD TV, 47-inch LCD. And it looked okay. I mean, you turn off the stretch, you turn off the processing, and it kind of looks okay, but it sort of plays a bit funny because you have that little delay while it does its processing that you can't turn off. So I thought, okay, I have a CRT at home, I'll try it on that. And there is no comparison to how much better it looks better because of the scan lines, which you can get scan line generators, which do make it a lot better, but that's another story. And it feels better because there is zero delay. There's no lag. There's no frames missing. Sorry, not missing. There's no frame delay. And when you push the button, it's on screen. It's instant. And that's where I think the most important bit lies. With these old games, there was nothing built in to allow for a delay because there wasn't any TVs that delayed. Whereas 360 games, PS3 games, you can kind of have a bit of delay and it doesn't feel too bad. How they do that, I don't know, but maybe it's just that we got used to it. Well, I got used to it anyway. So I'm in the school of believing that the PS3, the LCD TVs aren't as good as the CRTs for old school gaming, but if you have a system that has widescreen through HDMI, like the PS3, PS4 coming out, Xbox One, Xbox 360, Wii U, not the Wii, sorry, then you should probably get an LCD and play it through that because it looks a crap ton better. Yeah, It's as simple as that. Old games, old TV, new games, new TV. So I think that should be the first part of your game collection. In Australia, you can go onto a site called Gumtree, which is like Craigslist. And you can find TVs for free. You can find TVs for $5, $10, $20. Some people try to sell broken CRTs for $100. I don't know what the fuck they're thinking, but I got my CRT for $5. Now the first two CRTs I got them for free. They're both, well, one of them was really good, the first one I had, and I got rid of that because I got this one. And the reason I wanted to get another one is because it didn't have component input or RGB input or VGA input. It had none of those three. It just had composite, which is okay for most old systems, but I like to push out as much as possible. Then I got a second one to replace the first one. It was a widescreen, which I didn't like. It was a curved glass, which I didn't like. It had RGB though, so I was willing to forgive it. But when I tried the RGB, when I tried any of the inputs, it was a massive amount of lag, like worse than my LCD. So that's currently sitting in my garage waiting to be dumped, because the only people who should be using CRT now are old school gamers, and this is not good for old school gaming, so that's going in the bin. Then I got this one. This is a Sony Trinitron something or other, and it's fantastic. It's a 32-inch. The speakers sound great. The remote control works good. Not that it really matters. I'm like 3 feet away from it, and it has component input, which to me is the most important, because you can get, as long as you have RGB or component or VGA, you can get converters to go through all three without any video loss and without any lag, usually. So I've got my my Master System and my Atari Jaguar hooked up to a RGB converter into component, and that works really nicely. They look really great, and all the composite ones look fantastic because they are on an old TV. So when buying an old TV, look up the inputs. Try to find one with either component or RGB or VGA. RGB and VGA are mostly the same thing. Make sure it's big. In my opinion, I think you need a big TV. Well, maybe that's me because I'm fucking blind, but that's fine. Make sure it has plenty of inputs. My one has 5, including the component and the front panel. But the reason you have so many is because if you have AV switches, you don't want an AV switch for your AV switches. It's inconvenient. If you have 3 or 4 inputs and 4 AV switches, that's pretty good. I'm building an AV switch at the moment which has 16 inputs, so that won't be a problem for me anymore, but for now it's good. And more importantly, make sure it bloody works properly. There are people trying to give away CRTs as completely working, but the picture looks crap, it's all fuddled, or it's laggy or anything like that, so make sure you test it. I got lucky. 2 of the 3 TVs I got were good. The other one was crap. So to me, that's the most important part of starting, is get your TV right. And the next one is, if you've got absolutely nothing, if you're starting from ground zero, you have nothing, pick a system you want. Just say most people's preference is the NES, and find one with a big pack of games. Find one with a couple of controllers, find one with all the cables. And if you're that way inclined, find one with the box. Don't play catch up. Your first outlay should be your biggest, because you buy a system with 2 games. Just say, this is obviously not real world value, but just say it's $100. Two games with the system and 1 controller and no cords. And then you pay $20 for the cords. You pay $20 for another controller. You pay $10 for the AV cable. Whatever. So you're at $150. Whereas if you go and you buy one with 30 games, and you buy it with 3 controllers, 1 spare, and you get all the cords with it, it's going to cost you $200. But those extra 28 games are not worth $50, So get as much money as you possibly can together, and that's what you use to buy your first system. When you buy the system initially, you spend as much as you can to get as much as you can. I did not do this for most of my systems. Most of the systems I bought on their own. Obviously the NES, the SNES, and the Master System I didn't have to. But when I bought like the Mega Drive, I got like 2 games with it. And when I bought the Jaguar, I got 5. 5 is about like a 10th or a 15th of the system, so that's pretty good. When I got the Neo Geo, I got 4 games, which is once again a pretty high percentage of the system, so that's pretty good. But when I got the GameCube, I got 1 game. and I bought it from a local pawn shop chain, Cash Converters. And the only reason I got it from there is because it was boxed for $40 with a memory card and a controller and a game. So I was like, oh, okay, I can't complain about that. But if I would have spent $100, I could have got 15 games, I could have got 2 controllers, I got, all that kind of stuff. Same thing when I bought my 64 for the first time, it came with nothing. And then I had to go buy a couple of games separately, and that cost a bit more. Luckily, I had a friend who knew someone who got me some games for cheap, so that was okay. So yeah, definitely go nuts as much as you can safely on your first purchase. After that, I find it, by that point you've sort of picked out how you want to collect, but if you haven't, you have to pick if you want to be a complete in-box collector, if you're going to be a card only or a disc only collector, if you're going to be someone who just buys indiscriminately like I do. I think that's really important, because if you're undecided from the start and you go, okay, I'll just buy whatever, and it's like, okay, I want to be a complete in-box collector, then all of a sudden you're playing catch-up again. You got to sell off your old ones, probably at a loss, and then you got to go buy the complete in-box ones. So that's not something you want to do. So get that sorted out first. Decide exactly how and what you want to collect. Now, with me, I don't care for cart games, because carts look cool on the shelves as well as the boxes do. NES carts and American SNES carts look really good on the shelf anyway. With disc-based games, I need to have it complete, because generally when a disc doesn't have a cover, in my opinion, it hasn't been well looked after, and it might not work. And if it does work, it might not work for too long. I know you could sort of say, well, if it has a cover, it could still be abused, but at least at that point I can go and buy a disc only, and I have the cover, and I'm not too fussed. I can take it back, or whatever else. So that's me personally. With consoles, not really too caring about the boxes, although I do like them. If I find one for a decent price, I will pick it up. I do have an SNES box, I have the Xbox box, I have like 8 360 boxed, and I have 2 PS... no, I don't have any PS2 boxes. I have 2 N64 boxes, I have my Jaguar's complete, my Neo Geo is complete, I have a complete Mega Drive, and I have a complete Twin Famicom. Sorry, a complete Famicom, I have a complete Twin Famicom. Complete Master System, complete TurboGrafx 16. So, like, I'll try, but I won't care too much. I'm not going to pay an extra $100 just for a box, unless it comes with a few thousand games with it or something. So yeah, that's something else that most people don't think of at the start. They don't think of exactly what they want to collect and how they want to collect it, which I think it's really important. I apologise if you can hear the scratching. I'm scratching my dog's head because she's lonely. After that, I think you need to set yourself limits and goals. I, at the beginning, wasn't very good with limiting myself. With the advent of eBay and the internet, it's really hard not to just go on there. It's like, oh, I want this game, and then you get it. Then I want this game, and you get it. And then all of a sudden you've spent $300-400, and you don't have enough money for petrol. I only did that once. I learnt my lesson after that. But it's, as I said, it's very hard, because, like, especially for me, I work with computers, and if I'm waiting for something to upload, waiting for something to download, I'll jump on eBay and I'll check it. And it's very easy just to go buy it now, click done, you've spent $200, which isn't as big of a deal for me as it was when I was earning only $200 a week, but you do it 1 or 2 times in a day, and all of a sudden you're sleeping on the couch. So that's the whole point of that kind of limit. But then there's the limit of, what exactly do I want from the system? Do I want to have a full set? Do I want to have a certain set of games like shmups or RPGs? And the goals become limits. For me, I don't have too many goals and limits. I want to go for a couple of full sets. I want a Master System full set. I want a N-Gage full set, which I've nearly done. I'm only missing 1 or 2 rare ones, and the other ones I just don't want to pay the money that they're asking for on eBay. And there's like, for the rest of the system, there's just like, I want X games, I want this game, I want that game, and I'll get these games and not worry about the rest. And then there's things like the NES and the SNES where it's like, I want the American ones, because not only are they heaps cheaper than Australia, and I've said this many times before in many of my videos, $20 for a copy of Mario, I've seen it on more than one occasion. Funny enough, they're all sitting there still right now because no one buys the fucking things and they don't bloody learn. You know, you go onto American forums, it's like, here's 100 games, it's $150, which I have done before. And it's like, cool, how much is shipping? Like 300. Oh, fucking great. And I have done that before too. So, like, yeah, for stuff like the NES, where I would love a complete set, obviously, you know, with the exception of the World Championships carts, and actually Stadium Events isn't too bad for me, being a PAL collector as well, because this PAL version of Stadium Events is like $100 at most, if you can find it. People wanting to give it for, you know, the $14,000-$15,000 that people want the American one for, they don't seem to understand the difference in rarity. What's wrong? Sorry. And yeah, so it's great being someone who collects indiscriminately across the regions, with the exception of the Super Nintendo. Most of the time, the packaging, the cart, all that kind of stuff is the same. You know, obviously, if you're connecting Japanese games, it's going to be in Japanese rather than English on the boxes. Other than that, like the SNES, the Japanese and the European or Australian carts are the exact same. Obviously, with the different language on them. With the NES, the American and Australian carts are the same, so I can collect across those two regions and they look the same. And I've modded my NES so they play, but because it doesn't have a 50-60 hertz switch, it plays a bit funny, so I got to get myself an American NES as well. But for stuff like the SNES, basically every other console but the NES, you can play games out of region at the proper speed. And on RGB too, NES is the only console I think you can't RGB mod, which is annoying, unless you want to pay like $300 for a chip. I forgot what I was talking about. Goals. So, like, if you could set a goal, set it low first. It's like, I want to have 10% of the SMS library, the Master System library. Okay, cool, I have 10% now. And if you set the goal low, you tend to spread it out a bit more. At least in my opinion, I do that. I have a goal, I want 6 months, I want the goal finished. Then I have another goal which I only want an extra 5% of the set done. I want the 6 months to finish that, or, you know, something like that. Ugh, you smell. Yeah, so goals and limits are very important when collecting. If you're someone who gets paid a salary or on a predictable amount, it's a good idea to make a separate bank account and automatically transfer out X amount every time you get paid, and that's your gaming money. I don't do this for the simple reason that one fortnight I'll spend nothing, the next fortnight I'll spend double what I usually would. So it evens itself out. And you might be thinking, well, that's a good idea, why don't you just leave it in the account? Well, it's because of the way my home loan works. If I leave it in the account, it makes my home loan cheaper. So, yeah. The final tip is definitely organisation. Now, once again, if you're watching on a video, you can kind of see my collection. It's kind of all laid out kind of neatly. If you're not seeing it on video, I'll post a picture with the link for this, or something. I don't know. I think it's important to have your collection organised and catalogued properly. Well, before I started cataloguing properly, I was buying doubles more than I care to admit. It was very annoying. You spend $10 on a game that's worth $8, and it's like, okay, because it's only $2, and then you do it twice, or you do it 3 times, and it's like, well, I've just wasted $6. I could have got another game with that. And I know $6 doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it is when you think about it in terms of, I could have had another game. So, in my opinion, I think Excel is the best for collecting. Excel mixed with Dropbox, because you put your Excel file in Dropbox, and all of a sudden it's on your phone, it's on your work computer, it's on your wife's computer, it's on your wife's phone, it's on your best mate's phone, it's on the internet. That's it. It's done. But there are other applications. I use collectors.com Game Collector, which is pretty good, but I don't like maintaining 2 lists. Sorry about that. But with Excel, as someone who programs, you can do some cool stuff with Excel. You can work out how many games you have that have doubles. You can work out how much percentage you have of the system. You can work out how many you have left. You can work out, anything. And on top of that, you can put it in whatever columns you like. You can leave whatever notes you like. Like in my 360 collection spreadsheet of my game collection workbook, I've got all my faceplates, all my promo stuff, all my cords, all my controllers, all my Xboxes, because I got plenty of those, and then all my games, all my collector's editions. Everything's all laid out nice and neat, and I can go, okay, I go to the Xbox page. I do have this game collection. No, I don't, so I'll buy it. And since I've done that, I've only bought one double, and that was because I was at a Goodwill, a charity shop, whatever. And I found a game, and I looked it up online. It's like, okay, they want $5 this game's worth. It's going consistently for $15 online. So, I'll buy it. And I already bought it like a week before at a different charity shop. So that was kind of silly of me. But that said, I can sell it for more than what I got it for, so it's not a big deal. Isn't that right? So yeah, those are my tips for game collectors in general, and especially for new game collectors. If you're a new game collector, welcome to hell. The market is currently flooded with game collectors. And the best way, in my opinion, to get a good game collection these days are garage sales and thrift stores. On eBay, there is so much competition and so much artificial price inflation that you can't get, or you can, but it's very hard to get a good deal. That said, I buy a lot on eBay because I do get some good deals. It's all about timing on eBay. Craigslist is good if you're American, or basically anywhere in the world but Australia. Gumtree is good for Australia, and I think the UK. I think you have Trade Me on New Zealand. I went to a New Zealand accent for that one for some reason. Yeah, so that's my opinion on that. I think I might break it here, and I'm going to start up another one with... fuck it, let's get going. Some cool things that I have got and that you can get, I'd like to talk about. Since I am on video for at least some of this, I probably should get this stuff out, but my dog's in my lap, so look at her. Look at his face. Sorry, audio people. Basically, the cool things I have are things that I've gotten either cheap or from people who didn't know what they were worth, or from people who do know what they're worth and I managed to trade them down or something. I'll start with the first thing I can think of, and that's my PS1 Net Yorozi. Or I used to take Japanese, I shouldn't know how to say that, but either way. Hands. Basically, it's a home PS1 dev kit that they sold to home devs who wanted to make their own games. It's a matte black fat PS1 with composite outputs. It also has a serial cable that you hook up to your computer, and you can play games from any region on burnt discs or whatever. It's got a big ass thick, like 1,000-page coding manual for it, which I kind of read through, and it was kind of cool. And then there's another piece of hardware with it, including you get the two black matte controls as well, which is cool, without the DualShock. They are original controls. But the other thing it comes with is a access card, which is basically a memory card that the Net Yorozi reads before it lets you do anything. And that is the hardest bit to find, because it's a memory card. People lose memory cards. But I have that. I have it complete without the box. So that's cool. That's a real cool thing to get. I think the guy wanted $450, and I was like, nah. And he was only around the corner from me. So I ended up trading him down. I traded him a modded SNES with a copy of Street Fighter, the Super Famicom edition for Street Fighter 2, and a controller, a cable, and a video cable. And I ended up getting him down to $200 plus that, which to me I thought was a pretty good price, because it was like $250 worth of stuff, with the cash. So I got that for decently cheap, and I was quite happy with it. Sorry if my voice just got loud, then I got a bit too close to the mic, trying to pat the dog. One of the other cool things I have is a Launch Team Edition Xbox 360. Basically, the only difference is from the original 360, if you take everything off, is it has neon green fan covers, I guess, the top and the bottom bit, the grills. That's the word I was looking for. And if you have it complete, it has a neon green hard drive with a gamer tag engraved on it, and it has a really cool looking faceplate. Neon green controller with neon green highlighter controller. So the grey bits on your white controller will be neon green. And basically, it was given out to the employees who made the Xbox 360. So around a lot of them, and I have one, so I'm quite happy with that. I paid $50 for that, so go me. And the last thing is something I recently got. It was a. You right there? Come back up. Okay. The last thing I only got a couple of days ago, actually. I got it on Monday, and today's Friday. That's a few days. I guess it's not a couple of days. It is a Super Famicom box. Now, this is a hotel Super Famicom. So basically, it looks like a VCR, a big, massive VCR. And they used to have a little coin box on the side and used to pay to play Super Famicom games. These things take the most massive carts I've ever seen in my life. Like, I've got Neo Geo carts, and this thing just dwarfs them. Okay. And it's cool, not only because it's got Super Mario, the Super Mario Collection, Super Mario Kart, and Star Fox by default, but it's cool just because it looks badass. It is big, and is it imposing. And that one cost me, I paid $200 for it, and I paid $230 in shipping. And it got broken in shipping, so the guy refunded me $90. So, it wasn't bad. $110 plus shipping. So that was pretty cool. On top of that, there are obviously cool collector's edition games you can get. There are other cool consoles you can get, you can get yourself an Apple Pippin or a PC Engine LT, which is basically, it's like a PC Engine GT, which is a portable PC Engine, except it's got a flip-up laptop screen, like a 6-inch one. They're super rare as well. You can get, my mind's wandering now, but there are a lot of cool things you can get. You can get a Dreamcast, which is a portable Dreamcast. I think it's portable anyway. You can get a Generation Next NES, which is a clone NES, which is actually pretty good. You get a 32X, which is shit by most regards, but it has a couple of good games. It's a Genesis or a Mega Drive add-on, which are pretty cool. And, there's just a whole bunch of really rare and random crap you can get that maybe won't cost you a whole bunch. Like the Super Famicom box, yeah, it's $200, but that's not all that much. If you're buying a PS4, it's $450, which I'm buying. It's $500 for me, 500 Australian dollars. Or at Xbox One, it's like 600 Australian dollars, I think. So, it's when you put it in context, it's not that much. And you can buy things that you buy just because they're purposely bad. Like, I have a little Red Hood for the NES. I have an Atari Jaguar, which isn't really as bad as they say it is if you mod the controller, which I haven't done yet. You could buy a 3DO. I have a 3DO. You can buy a what is a CDI? That's the one I was thinking of. You buy a CDI, and by all accounts, they're pretty bad too. But you could say I have a CDI. It all depends on why you're collecting. I collect because I like playing them, but also because I like talking about them. Hence the podcast. I like showing them off. I like nerding out. I'm a bit of a nerd, just a little bit of a nerd. So for me, it's a different beast. Like this dog. This dog's a different beast. Look at it. Sorry, audio people. On top of that, you can get cool collector's editions, especially for 360 games. There are some cool collector's editions. The Borderlands 2 one's pretty cool. The Bioshock one from America's pretty cool. You get the Big Daddy doll, whatever else. I'm trying to think of them, but I can't think of anything else. But it's all about what you like, obviously. You shouldn't game collect to show off, even though I just said I do it. I do it because I have people who like the same things that I do. So when I buy things that I like, and I go, hey, look what I got, they go, hey, that's pretty awesome. Or they humour me. Who knows? I forgot where I was going with this. I'm a amateur to the whole talking, and I've been going for 35 minutes. So I actually do think I'll leave it there for this one. So this will be the introduction, and I hope to come every week. That sounded wrong. I hope to make one of these every week, maybe even earlier, depending on how I'm feeling or what I have on my mind. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I will put this up on my Dropbox account and share it for the MP3. I will put the video up on YouTube, youtube.com/KOTMFU if you happen to get this through someone else. There's also twitch.tv/MYTHARUS, that's Mytharus. That's mine and my mate Steven's channel. And there is also a Mytharus LP YouTube channel, but I can never remember the fucking URL. It's youtube.com/myth-1221, I think, off the top of my head. Yeah, that is it. I hope you've enjoyed this. Next time I will be talking about, I think I might talk about the mask system, because I like the mask system, what to collect for it, how much it is, and what kind of cool shit you can get for it. Once again, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you guys later.